Thank you for calling the Galactic Empire. Your call is important to us. For HR, please press 1. For the Inquisition, please press 2. And if you're from Alderaan, press 911, because you're going to need it. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails. We're starting a new series called Tier List Thursday. Maybe it's Tier List Thursday, I don't know. We're going to kick this off by talking about the 5 worst game modes in the game. There's a lot of game modes, and it may surprise you, the ones that I've chosen. I'll talk about them. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. However, huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for everything, guys. And yeah, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, if you want to support this channel for free, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, comment. Let's mount that algorithm, shall we? Now, let's go with the number 1, in fact, game mode that sucks. Okay, before we jump right into these here, folks, I do actually want to give a caveat. People are going to say, oh my gosh, he's just trying to rage farm clicks or whatever the nonsense the kids are saying these days. I don't hate this game. This game has been really great. There's a reason I've been playing it for, 8 years, 9 years, something like that, 20 decades. Who knows how long I've been playing this game, but I like this game. I really do. And yet, there are some things that I've been increasingly frustrated about, and we're going to talk about some of the game modes that I'm a little more frustrated about. That doesn't mean they can't be fixed. CG could absolutely jump in and fix them, and that will be wonderful. But I think we also need to talk about some of these things that are a little frustrating. So, let's talk about them. Let me ask you this. What's the rarest resource in this game, other than compassion or kindness or empathy from the developers? Other than that, it's probably Omicron materials. They've been out for a while now, and yet they're still rarer than ever because of the constant demand to be able to play in all the different game modes and participate in all of them, and the character release schedule has never been as dense as this, except for years ago, one time when everyone hated life a whole lot to be able to get Jedi Revan unlocked way back in the day. But getting back to the matter at hand, Galactic Challenges has us by the balls, folks. We have to play Galactic Challenges, and we have to play it well. We can get to, tier 8 to get both of the Omicron materials, and so for a lot of people it's not a huge issue, but for a lot of people who need them even more, which are the new players who don't have any Omicron mats, they need them so desperately that they're going to spend hours sometimes trying to RNG themselves into having 2 Omicron materials. Now, it's nice to be able to get that red crate. It feels nice, it looks good, all of that stuff, and you do get some nice rewards. And of course, those are all materials that help you upgrade your roster that you also need if you're a smaller account. But it's one of those things that it's not even worth spending dollars to upgrade your roster, because you're only getting a 10th of an Omicron mat. But if you're not consistently getting 2 of them, it takes a frustratingly long time to be able to get an Omicron material. Not to mention the fact that as a new player, you're going to have to invest in certain Omicrons that you don't even want to invest in just to get into a guild that will even consider you. You need a lot of Omicrons in this game, and you don't get them fast enough unless you have... Who has Jawas? Guys, I have Jawas on my account that I've been playing for 9 years. I have them, and it's still tough to win with them sometimes, because at Relic 5, that's still tough. I've spent money on this game, and sometimes I spend a long time trying to RNG it, and if it's my smaller account, I just don't have the option to get the best prize. And so I think that's the most frustrating and the dumbest of all of the game modes is Galactic Challenges, because of the amount of potential time you're going to spend just to get the rewards, and the people spending the most time doing it are the people who don't, of course, have the right teams to be able to participate, and that adds to the frustration. So that's the number one game mode that I dislike. The second game mode that I find the most frustrating, folks, is Rise of the Empire. Territory battles. Now, I like a lot of things about it, actually. The facelift that we've gotten, it looks better than Geonosis in a lot of ways, and it promises a whole lot more. The idea of eventually, maybe we'll have enough Relic 9s to go out and explore, like the Death Star and stuff. That seems kind of cool. And I like the idea of unlocking new planets and bonus nodes. We get this new epic legendary character, and they're able to help us as a guild work together to unlock this new planet. And that what's in the new planet, what's going to be the reward, what's going to be the thing, that really appeals to my sense of imagination, and it's really exciting. Really, I love that. The idea of it is cool. My problem with it is it takes too much time. It takes a really long time. We are being punished to play the game more. We unlock Zepho. Cool. Hey, we unlocked Zepho. And what do we get for it? We get a little bit of GT2. We get a few, one extra star. We get some Kyrotech. That all sounds great, but it takes a lot more time. And the fact that I'm being disincentivized to unlock their new content is really frustrating. I want to play something that captures my imagination, but the fact that we're spending hours every day on Rise of the Empire sometimes, depending on, we have 5 planets unlocked and open for the majority of Rise of the Empire, and these easier nodes, the easier stuff, we don't have a sim button. We still have to, as your guild continues to progress, you still have to do full participation for Phase 2 for most guilds if you want to get all of the stars, and that's a frustrating thing, to see shiny, new, awesome content that appeals to and captures my imagination, and also inwardly cringe at the idea of, oh my gosh, look at all those extra nodes I'm gonna have to do now because I happen to unlock this new cool character. It's a frustrating situation, and as CG continues to release new bonus nodes, it's going to take up increasingly large amounts of time, which Galactic challenges are already taking a lot of time sometimes. Sometimes they're really easy. It's arbitrary. We've already talked about that. Sometimes Conquest takes a long time. Sometimes Territory Wars takes a long time. Sometimes we just have to abandon GAC altogether because we have to help our guild get an extra star that's worth almost nothing, but you need that extra star so you can recruit new people, because it's tough to get new good people to come into your guild if you don't have a really high star Rise of the Empire score. It's a frustrating situation, and I think it could be solved by adding some sim buttons. Hey, if you get perfect stars on this node 10 different times, you can sim it moving forward. I would love that, and CG isn't into that. I don't think that's something they're going to do. I would love it, but frustrating game mode because of how much time it takes. Okay, the number 3 game mode that I don't like has to be the raid. Now, I do think that the raid structure is a lot better than it used to be. The original raid structure, where it pitted guild members against one another to get the top prizes, I thought that was fairly toxic and awful, and I didn't like it at all. This new one, it tends to have decent mechanics, and it has a much fairer way of distributing rewards, which is the guild works together to get a reward rather than competing against each other for that top 10 spot or whatever it was. So I do like this structure. The problem with it is, first off, I've never loved it personally. On a personal level, I don't love the raid. That's fine. Some people love it. I get that. That's wonderful. I'm happy for people who love it. I genuinely am. The problem with it is, first off, it's a huge time sink. Sometimes, even if you have the perfect team comp, sometimes you spend an hour resetting because your guild is requiring you to get 10 million or whatever your score is, and if you can't quite get that, then you risk being booted from your guild, or at least a lot of people getting mad at you, and once you go down that road, is this mobile game really worthwhile if you're just constantly stressed out because you're not able to get the right score? I mean, there's just a lot of negative implications there. The other problem with this is how short the reward is for how much work you have to do. CG just pushes a button and it just changes all the mechanics. They don't just say, oh, hey guys, look, we looked at the top 40 character list of characters that everyone uses consistently, and we've decided here's what's required. Like, here's the top 40 characters. Go to town, have fun, enjoy the raid for the next 9 months. That's not what they do. They say, here, we're gonna pick a theme, and that theme is most people don't have these characters geared. And hey, we'll provide ways to gear those characters easily if we spend some cash, which, I mean, that's great for some people. So, I mean, some people that really just sucks because you get farther behind. And, I mean, being derailed to work on Kit Fisto, for instance, on one of your, like on a new player account, really sucks. Instead of working on Inquisition or something that they actually need, they have to work on a character that's only good, its lifespan is 9 months at best. Only 9 months. And if they don't work on that, though, they can't get into a guild that's going to help them get good rewards. And it's just a perpetual, it's a hamster wheel. You just going in circles, and the amount of rewards you get from these characters, how many people are going to regret that Relic 8 Ewok Elder that they have now from the Endor raid? It's a tough thing to be able to contemplate working on some of these teams, and so the raid is cool, but I think the amount of time we have to spend on it is just, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. The rewards are cool. Like, there's a lot of good things about the raid, but it's just consistently feeding into this theme of how much time do I have for one mobile game that stresses me out when I don't achieve the top reward. I mean, Galactic Challenges, if you don't get Red Crate, there's some psychological thing that makes you feel sad and frustrated that you couldn't even get Red Crate. Like, well, maybe I'll spend another hour to get Red Crate. Or same with territory battles. Some people are going to be frustrated when they can't complete all of them, and so they just spend a lot of time doing it. And the raid is the same thing. It's just more time and more effort into a game that's going to then, for me, it's just a chore. It's it's the price I have to pay to play the game modes that I enjoy, and that's frustrating too. I should have the ability to just say no, I don't want to play it, but I have to. I'm forced to. CG is, if I don't participate, I don't get good rewards, and those rewards are absolutely foundationally necessary to further the development of my roster. And so they have me by the balls. I have to play that game mode even if I don't like it. And I have to spend a lot of resources, in fact, to do this. So a little bit frustrating, and why it's the number 3 that I think is the worst. Number 4 probably won't surprise a lot of you. I've never, for at least for a long time, personally loved Territory Wars, and honestly, that's not the reason. It's not a personal preference thing here. I mean, it's one of my least favorites, but it's fine, and I don't look down on people who love that team fighting aspect of Territory Wars. I personally think it's kind of dehumanizing to just go in with a prescribed list and you're just one of 50 just mindless drones going in and hoping you don't draw the attention of your guild for failing to kill this team. It's a frustrating situation, but beyond that, beyond my own personal preferences, I think that this game mode is frustrating because it hasn't gotten an update for a really long time. CG releases Omicrons periodically. Obviously, they release new characters, and this game mode just stays the same. Yes, those characters are going to change things. The Datacrons, the Omicrons are all going to change the dynamics of how it all works. The map is getting really small now for the bigger guilds because we're going to have 9 Galactic Legends, and we could actually just place a Galactic Legend in every single defensive slot and still have one left over for offense if we wanted to. At some point, we're just going to have all Galactic Legends, and people talk about the top 16 because the top 8 teams that you use for offense, the top 8 teams that you use for defense. That's all you need. That's all you need for Territory Wars. You really don't need more than that. And they haven't updated the game mode for a long time, other than to make it take more time. They expanded the number of teams that were required to attack, which maybe it was necessary, but that's not an update. That's just an expansion. It's just hey, we're going to double the amount of time everyone is required to play this game mode. If they want to play this outdated game mode, now they'll have to spend double the time. And that's what they did with GAC as well, though, I mean, we needed that expansion, but Territory Wars has not gotten a substantial update beyond Datacrons or Omicron editions for a very long time. It is absolutely direly in need of that. The Territory War community is so ridiculously tough to get into as well at this point because it's so specialized. Everyone, even my guild that doesn't love Territory Wars, just released a list of like 20 Omicrons that we need for Territory Wars just to sometimes occasionally win a territory war. It's a frustrating thing. If you have to have that many Omicrons and you haven't been putting them on because you don't prefer territory wars in that game mode, you can't get into a lot of the guilds out there, even the guilds who don't love territory wars. And so we don't have an update. We haven't had an update for years. Meanwhile, PvE keeps getting a boost, and CG is probably just spending all their time developing new raids. Frankly, I don't see how they could be spending their time doing anything else if it's a release window of every 9 months. They have to come up with a new raid, and we get to just play the same old stupid game modes that if someone quits in Territory Wars and they just leave their account out to float in the void, their account is just irreplaceable. You just can't get someone with that many Omicrons now. It's a frustrating state of affairs, folks, and I feel bad for the Territory War people who love the game mode and haven't had any kind of good, awesome thing for a really long time. It's a really frustrating thing for everyone. And if you want droid brains, which they're increasingly required for new unlock characters, that's the place to get them, unless you want to spend a lot of crystals on them. So, good luck, have fun. So, the number 5 worst game mode, folks, is not Conquest, as a lot of you probably think it's going to be, because I think it's actually fairly good for the game. You can get a new legendary level character on a free-to-play account, and a lot of people are able to do that in 3 months, the same as a pay-to-win account, which kind of gives a certain level of parity to the accounts. It's nice. It's you can kind of a little bit keep up with the big accounts, not all the way, but it's kind of good for the mid-game players and later. I think it's not my personal preference, but I think it is a positive game mode. No, the number 5 that I've chosen is GAC, folks, and that doesn't mean I don't love it. GAC is the reason I play this game. Frankly, I love the competitive game mode. I love being able to come up with a cool strategy, all of the different kits that are out there. There's a surprising level of depth to this game, and CG has always been very good at making kits. However, there's also been no updates for a very long time, and Territory Wars is suffering from the same thing. We haven't had an update for GAC for a stupidly long time, and before you say, well, we can't have another expansion, it'll take too much time, like let's stop forcing a bigger board. I mean, whereas I would personally be fine with a bigger board on a personal level, I don't know if that's really the answer for everyone. A lot of people are already cutting GAC out of their lives entirely because they have too much to do. They tell me things on my streams like, I'm watching your GAC so I can have some GAC in my life, even as I'm also doing my Conquest fights or my Rise of the Empire fights. And people are like, I don't play GAC anymore, I just watch you play GAC, so then I can have both game modes and I don't have to play both of them. And it's fair enough, right? GAC can take 2 hours or more to play if you want to plan it all out, and it's trying to expand the board is not going to be a very popular thing. However, CG could update it. I have no doubt that if they put some resources into developing something to make the game mode more interactive, they would probably have a high chance of success. I mean, they did that for the raids, they did that for Rise of the Empire. It's all much nicer all these different updates, and they could do that with the PvP modes. They've chosen not to for a very long time, and it's a frustrating state of affairs, folks, because I love the game mode, and they've just done nothing. For how long has it been that they've listed on their website that it's 5v5 plus fleets? What if one day they just didn't have fleets? What if they just let us choose which zone fleets we're in? What if they changed the board a little bit? Just a little bit. What if it was 3 rows deep? What if ships were in the middle and you had to complete ships in order to advance? Or, there's a ton of stuff. And we know that they have the tech to have different zones. We know they do, because when it was first released, they had it. They had, and some of the zones were really dumb. Some of them, sometimes you played GAC without fleets at all. Sometimes you played GAC with there was one fleet zone, and there was one zone for all 7 squads that you had to play. And we called it the fish in the barrel zone, and that was a dumb one. I mean, there are some dumb ones, but give us something, guys. Not to mention, the new player experience in GAC is horrible. Trying to climb out of Carbonite is awful. You're facing a ton of rosters that are way bigger than yours. You have no ability to kill a Galactic Legend, and yet you're required to do that in order to beat some of these stupidly huge accounts that for some reason CG thinks is okay to pair against an account like the new player. It's completely dumb. Not to mention the payouts for anything less than Kyber is really bad as well. Just look at Erodium, the league right below. Look and see if that would be an acceptable number of crystals for your account to survive on. Really frustrating. And then, not to mention, the arbitrary level of squish that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Will I get squished right out of Kyber 2? I don't know. There's a guy who can't get into a guild that he wants to get into unless he's Kyber 3 or more, and Squish just makes that so stupid, and I actually think that's a pretty dumb requirement, personally, but right now, there's a lot of broken things in GAC, and they keep getting brokener as we continue. Datacrons they probably saved the game. They probably did. But that can't be the only thing you do forever. I'm sick of learning so many overpowered new kits that are only around for 4 months. This is where I have to learn an enormous amount of mechanics for the new raid every 9 months, and now we have to learn an enormous amount of mechanics for the new Datacrons that expire after 4 months. And we have to learn a ton of new mechanics for the new characters that are being released, and then we have to try to remember which of those mechanics are part of the Omicron, which ones are part of just the Datacron that was released at the same time as those characters. We have to try to remember all of this stuff and how it interacts with all these other kits that are being released at the same time. And it's an enormous amount of prep work for a game that is a character collector game at its heart. I mean, I love the strategy and the nuance and the depth. I do. However, GAC that can't be the only thing. Just a mountainous pile of mechanics can't be the only way you update a game mode that hasn't had an update of any kind of real substance for a very long time. Not to mention, if you like the game mode, that's wonderful, but it's also contingent on a set of Datacrons that isn't just the most asinine thing that you've ever seen. I swear, guys, one of my least favorite updates to this game was set, 16? The one that we're still playing that's going to dust here in a month, where we just had an enormous amount of pressure to get all of these Datacrons, and they're just so good. They are really good. They're really good, and they made them really tough to farm, the right ones, and they made them, they made the Mark III materials completely, absolutely required, and then didn't make them more available to us. They just randomly sent us a pile of them at some point in our inboxes. They were like, here, have some materials. Like, they didn't explain it, except you could just kind of infer that, yeah, they realized that they messed up, and here's some extremely late payment for the thing that they did really poorly. And so I've been struggling to want to play the game mode at all when I have to deal with these datacrons, because it's just everyone that I face has a mountain of these new datacrons, and I didn't spend a ton of money on them. In fact, I've stopped spending money on this game because I don't need to give CG money for not updating our game. All they've done is temporarily change the dynamics of how the characters interact for a little bit, and then pretty soon all of those datacrons are just going to dust, and then all the effort we put into them will be gone. All the effort of memorizing the different mechanics and trying to theory craft everything. I love some of the elements of datacrons. I think that they've been very good for this game, but that can't be the only update that we've had to PvP for years. That can't be and still remain interesting, folks. It's going to get old, and in fact, it has gotten old. So let me know what your thoughts are. I ranted long enough. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, I hope you prevail. Take care, folks.